Getting your first taste of this offense, how does this offense for Ryan Grubb compare and contrast to what you had with Eric Bieniemy last year in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little different, but Grubb's done a great job. It's been so much fun learning from him, and obviously, he's had so much success over the past few years. So we do a lot of different things, mix up some tempos, but it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely a quarterback friendly offense, and Eric Bieniemy's offense was kind of similar in that way that it was a quarterback friendly offense, and both of those guys like to throw the ball a lot. So it's definitely a lot of fun to play in.
What makes it quarterback friendly?
I think just how aggressive he is, and just how much he wants to push the ball down the field. And that's kind of similar to what I've done in the past. And it's definitely the offense that I feel like I want to play in.
We haven't had a chance to talk to you since the trade went down. What was your first reaction when you heard?
Yeah, I was excited. I think once I kind of got the idea that me being traded was a possibility. Seattle was one of those places that I wanted to come be a part of. I'm just super excited to be here, and I think Coach Mike's done a great job of starting to build this thing. So this is definitely one of those places that even coming out of the draft, I wanted to come to. So I just love being in this city. I love being a part of this team, and I'm just excited to get to work.
What was it about Seattle? Have you been here before or anything like that? Or?
No, actually, the first time I was here was when we played out here last year. But I just love the team, love the organization. I know a lot of guys on the team. And I think this is a good football team. There's a lot of really good players, a lot of really good pieces here. So we just got to try to keep building it every single day.
Sam, you're coming into a situation with a guy who's an established starter ahead of you. So you were I guess okay with that, or would you rather maybe have an go on a situation where maybe it wasn't as definitive as maybe the start of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this league, to be able to play, you got to compete. And that's what I'm willing to do, no matter what the situation is, no matter who the starter is. If I'm the starter, I'm coming to compete every single day. And I think, Geno's been great. I've learned a lot from Geno, and he's a great player. I have a lot of respect for him and everything he's been through in his career, just the way he's always battled and bounced back. So I'm excited to be here with Geno and learn from him and just compete with him. And we battle every single day. We want to make each other better. And at the end of the day, we're on the same team, and whoever's out there is we're gonna support each other and try to help this team win.
What have they told you about role, future expectations, any of that?
Honestly, not much. They just tell me to keep working and just keep trying to get better every single day, and I'm taking it one day at a time, and I really don't worry too much about the future or what plans they might have for me, just because nobody really knows. I think you just got to take it one day at a time and do the best you can and just kind of see what happens.
What did you learn from starting 17 games last year?
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot. First year starting. There's obviously I could probably sit up here all day and talk about things that I've learned. But it was just great for me to get that experience and get those in-game experiences. Obviously, it was my second year, but really first year playing. So there's nothing like getting those live game reps. So there's definitely a lot of lessons to be learned, and I think those things that I've learned will make me better the next time I get an opportunity.
And just as a quarterback, as a rookie, getting to throw more than anybody else in the league, was it just a blast as a quarterback to wing it around the way you did?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was fun throwing the ball, but obviously we would have liked to be more in control of some of the games, and not have been in those situations where we had to throw the ball every single play. But it is what it is. We tried to win as many games as possible, and obviously didn't really work out for us. But that year's behind us. It's a new year. I'm happy to be here in Seattle and happy to get to work.
Well, you had that chance to reflect on how last year went, looking back at film. Where are the areas come to Seattle now that you feel like you need to improve the most in your game?
I think I can play some smarter ball. I think there was at times where we were down big in some games. I was a little too aggressive, just trying to make something happen, trying to get us back in the game. And that's why the turnovers are just way too high for what I wanted and what the team needed. So I think that's definitely something that I can take from last year. Is just playing better football, playing smarter football, and those are all things that I think I can do better moving forward.
How valuable was that trip? You guys all got together and went down to Cabo in terms of just familiarity.
Yeah, it was great. Just getting to know the guys and spending some time with the guys away from here. I think that's always good, and we got a great locker room, great group of guys. So coaches have been great. I think we're really truly building a family here in Seattle. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
Sam, when you look at the weapons that you're going to have around you, both in the backfield and at receiver, plus the offense that Ryan has and what they did at Washington the last few years, how exciting is that for you guys in a quarterback room to kind of see what you guys can have set on the table here for you guys?
It's very exciting. We have so many great pieces. We got DK, Jax, Locke, Ken in the backfield, Zach in the backfield, Noah, and we have so many great players, and I think Coach Grubb is gonna, that's what he does. He knows how to utilize his talent, and he's already shown that already. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to be a quarterback in this offense.
What do you remember the game here last year?
I remember we should have won, but it was a good battle. I just remember we got the ball down 7 in the fourth quarter, and I've never heard a stadium that loud. I think we might have had to use 2 timeouts on that drive just because it was hard for us to communicate. So it'll definitely be fun to be on the other side of that. But yeah, just cool experience, playing here in Seattle. Obviously as a kid, this is one of those places where you want to come and play. And the atmosphere was awesome. So it'll be fun to experience that a lot this year.
Back to your offensive coordinator, what are some of the things that he preaches to his quarterbacks and demands out of you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just wants us to come out here and command the show, and he wants us to kind of take ownership of this offense and run the offense how he wants to run it. Obviously he has a lot of things that he tells us on a daily basis, but I think the main thing that he wants is for his quarterbacks to come out here and command the show.
How interested do you remember the Seahawks being in you, if at all, coming out of the draft?
Say it again.
How interested do you remember the Seahawks being in you coming out of college?
I mean, obviously, probably not interested enough, But yeah, I mean, we had some good talks. Coach Canales was here at the time, and he was great. It was fun getting to know him. But yeah, I mean, obviously, going to the draft, you really never know what's going to happen. And I don't regret anything that happened to me in my career, and I truly believe that everything that's happened has happened for a reason. And I truly believe that God has a plan for me. And going to Washington, I definitely learned a lot out of that experience. And I'm happy to be here now in Seattle.
Seahawks fans, city of Seattle, they don't really know you. What do you like to do away from the field? What are your interests beyond?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't get too much time away from here. Obviously, I love ball first, and I just love to be here and be with my teammates. But yeah, I mean, outside of football, I play a little golf every now and then. That's kind of my new thing, my new hobby. I like to get out there and play a little golf when I can. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty even keel guy, pretty chill. Don't really do a whole lot outside of here.
What have been your impression? I mean, you talked about Geno and respect for his game and all that, but getting to know him, just being around him, what have been your impressions of him?
Yeah, Geno's great. Geno's the man, and it's obviously I've always been a fan of his. Just being on the other side, watching him, the way he goes about his business. He's a true professional, and just the way he practices each and every day. Just how committed he is to his craft and how committed he is to this team and just how much he puts into it. Those are things that you really don't know until you work right beside somebody. So it's been fun to watch him do that and learn from him. And I think he's a great player.
What are you learning about Mike Macdonald, whether it's personality-wise or coaching style?
Yeah, Mike's great. Obviously, first-year head coach, so I'm sure there's some things that, he's still trying to figure out about this, but I think he's doing a great job. And I think one of the things I love about him is just how much he's, talking about the culture side of this team. Just because I feel like in the NFL, that's something that could be lost at times. How important having a good culture is. Having a winning culture is, and that's something that obviously he's been a part of in Baltimore, and he's trying to bring here. And definitely doing some things different, doing some things his own ways. But I think he's been great for the whole team as far as getting everybody on the same page and really just trying to build this family-like atmosphere.
Sam, on a quarterback-friendly offense where they want the quarterback to command the show, how do you balance execution and patience?
Say it again.
How do you balance execution and patience in a quarterback-friendly offense where you're commanding that show?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you execute the plays how you're taught to execute them, and at times that might be checking the ball down. And I think at the end of the day, the defense really dictates where the ball goes. And as a quarterback, you just got to stay patient and trust that maybe on this play you had to check it down, but maybe we might come back to that same play later in the game and get a different look defensively, and now we can take the shot. I think you just got to trust. You got to trust the play caller that he's gonna call plays to put you in good scenarios where you don't always have to take the check downs and be patient. Coach Grubb will allow you to be aggressive at times, but I think you just got to go through each and every play like it's its own play, and you just go through it how you're taught to go through it, and really the defense will dictate the result.
What's different about Mike Macdonald or Ryan Grubb that you haven't had from a coach before?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, kind of what I was saying about Mike is just how big he is on the culture piece and how much he really talks about that. I mean, we have team meetings all the time where he talks about culture for 30 minutes, and I think that's really important, and I think that's something that the guys will respond to really well. And Coach Grubb, I just love, just how he can mix up tempo and really keep the defense on his heels. I don't really think that that's not something you see a whole lot in the NFL. So obviously, he's more of a college guy, and I'm excited for him to get his opportunity in the NFL because I think he's got some really good stuff. Cool. Thank you, guys. Yeah.